Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another tutorial. I'm Dennis and it's been a while since I have done one of these, but I'm back and let's take a look at what I'll be showing you guys today. So recently I've been experimenting with a new technique to create different types of animated texture animations like the one you're seeing. Here's another one. Oops. And this technique is really fun, really easy and flexible, and once I show you, you guys can probably like use it in your own way and apply it in different ways to make cool things. But these are just some of the examples that I did for this tutorial. So, and this technique I actually learned from a talk from Brett Morris in his NAB 2017 Rewind talk, and I'll have this link in the descriptions so you guys can check it out. But yeah, so let's get into it. So we're gonna try to make, I guess we're gonna try to make this one, this hex grid kind of an animated cascade thing. And okay, so let's set this up first in Cinema. Like normally, when I see something like this before, I'm like, okay, maybe I can just do this all in After Effects, and you could probably, but by using Cinema and After Effects together, I find it is a lot easier and more flexible. So that's why we're doing this. So okay, so let's make a plane first. I'm just gonna make a 11 by 11. These are just some numbers I was playing around with, and let's make a inside spline. Let's make a small, like 10 for now, and let's add that to a extrude to give it some geometry. Let's turn off the plane just so we can see this better, and we can just make this really thin, like 5 centimeters. Okay, now you want to drop this into a cloner object, and we're going to reference the plane for our cloner. So we change the mode to object and drop in the plane. And what you want to do is you want to turn off align clone and change the distribution to edge. And I'm going to go to a front view by pressing F4, I believe. And now all we got to do is we can just adjust the plane so that everything fits together like so. And you can zoom in really close to get it more precise if you want. And let's bring that in. Let's see. Yeah, something like that. So now we have, let's go back to our view, and let's hide the plane real quick by double clicking the little red dots over here. And now we have a perfectly nice wall of hexagons, right? And at this point, you can do anything you want to it. It's just an example. You can add a plane effector. Let's do a little fall, maybe a little sphere fall off, and we can move that around. I mean, you get it. Okay, so that's our basic setup. Let's add a camera to this, and because I'm trying to make like these really just flat 2D textures that you can use for other as a material for maybe a 3D object or even just a background or whatever. I want to make this, I want to make sure that there's no perspective in this thing. So I'm going to change the camera from perspective to parallel. I'm going to push in on this. Oh, I'm gonna hit Shift V to bring up the viewport options, and I'm gonna change the opacity here to like 50 so I can see the bounding box a little better. And I'm gonna move in closer to the camera so that everything is just inside here. Something like that. It doesn't doesn't have to be too precise, or it can be as precise as you want to, but yeah, something like that is fine. I'm gonna lock the camera by adding a protection tag, so that now I don't accidentally move the cameras. Okay, so this is our basic setup first in Cinema. Now let's create some textures in After Effects. So I'm gonna create a new comp, and I'm gonna make that a square, and let's make that 1000 by 1000, 24 frames per second, 10 seconds, whatever, it's fine. So I'm gonna call this hex texture. Okay. Let's see. Now we're gonna go into the polygon tool over here and double click. So we're gonna make a shape layer, and then we're gonna open up the options, and we want to make that 6 points, and I want to rotate that by, let's see, 30 degrees. Okay, 30 degrees. That's fine. For now, let's make it there's no stroke. And what I want to do first is to make sure that I UV map or texture map the whatever I do here into these hexagons in Cinema perfectly. So usually at this point I just do this quick thing. So I'm just gonna render out a still image of this that I'm just gonna use as a reference real quick. And let me save it. Motion graphics, texture cascade. I call this reference ref. Render that. Now let's go back here. I'm gonna click out all of the camera, turn everything off first, so we just have our basic hexagon. I'm gonna create a material, add to it, and I'm going to add that texture to the reference texture to let's see, that we just render out. Nope. See, by default it is projection of the material is UV mapped, right? But it's kind of off right here, so I want to change that to a frontal mapping. And if you want to go into the texture mode over here, oh, not frontal, my bad, flat, yeah. And what we can do is right click here and fit to object. No, yeah, fit to object. And you can just like scale it up so that everything fits perfectly, like that. Let's see, scale. Okay, yeah, okay, so that should be fine. So now, so what I did here basically is I made sure that my material, so that everything I do here matches perfectly when I do it here. And that's basically it. Okay, so now is the fun part. Now let's like make a bunch of different texture animations. So we're gonna turn off, well, we don't have to turn this off. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the fill, turn back the stroke. Okay, and let's see, let's make that a little thicker. Turn down the radius a little bit, and oops, let's see, and we're gonna add a trim path. So what that does is pretty much like you can do a little animation of the thing. So let's keyframe. Let's see. Okay, let's keyframe to start. Oops. Let's go down, let's say 20 frames, and make it the end, like that. Well, actually, my bad. In the beginning, you want to go both at 0, and then this comes out, and then it follows back. But you want to offset it so that it's like this. You see that? And what you want to do here is select all your keyframes, hit F9 to make it easy ease, and then you want to go to your graph editor and change that to speed value, and you want to drag those just back a little bit like that. Oops. So that gives a little pop so that it snaps frame forward and then kind of slows down towards the end. So just do a little quick run preview. Pretty good. And you can move these keyframes if you want to like make it a little quicker like that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is a very basic shape animation you can do in After Effects, right? We can do this one. Let's make another one. So we're gonna duplicate this layer. I'm gonna hide the original one, and let's open up its contents first. And we can get rid of the trim path at this point. And for this one, let's make it so that it explodes out and then disappears. So let's keyframe the radius and make it really small in the beginning. Go back to frame 1. And then go down 20 frames and make it all the way up, something like that. And while you're doing that, I want to keyframe also the stroke width. Starts really thick, and then towards the end it disappears. So boing, like that. And do the same thing. Select all your keyframes, hit F9 to make it easy ease. Go into your speed editor and just drag that back a little bit like that. And let's take a look at how that looks. So it kind of snaps out and then it kind of slows down as it goes. So that just make it. And if you want to make that even more exaggerated, you can drag this side back as well. Let's see. You know what? I like the way it was before. Yeah. So that's fine. That's fine with me. And if you want to make this even more interesting, you know, there's different ways to do it. So I might change the color of this to like a darker gray, right? And then I can duplicate this layer and then make the color white and offset it, so you have little double animation like that. So you can just you can keep building this on top of each other. So these are all these cool things you can do. Okay, so we have these two animations. So the first one is just a basic trace around the object, right? And you know what? Here's another thing I can do. I'm going to duplicate this layer and make the stroke way smaller. Make the color a little dark gray. If I solo this and open this up real quick, and let's see, trim path. I can uncheck the end. Okay. Yeah, so I unchecked the keyframe for the end path, so you just kind of draws on like this. Now if I want to make the thick one on top of it, so pretty much it just kind of draws on this. Let's see. Let's oh shit. Okay, let's run preview that real quick. Yeah, something like that. Let's even make this a little darker. Okay, you get the point. I mean, you can like fine tune it and make it as intricate as you want, but that's the basic idea. So what I'm gonna do is to just render out 30 frames of the sequence as an image sequence. So I'm just doing JPEG, but you can do whatever. So let's make a folder. We'll call that texture. And within it, hex 1. Render that out real quick. Let's go back here and we hide these two and bring back these guys, and that's render this out as well. I'm gonna call this hex 2. So run that real quick. Okay, so we got our texture all set up. Now let's go back in Cinema, and with our material, let's make this hex 1. Okay, and we don't need this color. We'll clear it. In fact, we don't need a color at all. All we need is luminance. And under textures, you want to apply a MoGraph multi-shader. And in the multi-shader, you can click this to add from folder. So we're just gonna navigate to our texture folder, hex 1. Say OK. So now it's all in here. Okay, and let's turn back our cloner stuff back on. And how are we gonna do this? Okay, yeah. So in our cloner, in our color here, we're gonna turn that to black. We're gonna turn to black because basically the way it works is the multi-shader is reading the values of like the actual color of the clone. You see how like when I change from black to white, it runs through the animation like that, right? So because of this, we can apply effectors to control that. So let's create a plane effector up here, and we don't need position, but we do need the color. So we're gonna turn that to white, and we're gonna make a use of falloff. Let's just use a linear falloff. Let's see, Z or X. There you go. So now when I push through the plane effector through our cloner, it drives the animation like that, right? That's really cool. And you can adjust the falloff, and I'm sure you guys already can see the basic idea here. Okay, so let's go back to my camera, and let's just do a quick keyframe. Let's keyframe the position of our plane effector. Let's go to the beginning, 72 frames. That's fine, whatever. Let's go to the end. Just push that through here, keyframe, and let's make sure that this is linear instead of easing. So let's just play that back real quick. There you go. Cool. Very cool. And right now they're not perfectly synced. You see there's like space between the lines, and to fix that is real easy. You can just go back into our texture mode and just kind of like scale that up or scale it down, you know what I mean? But actually, like with the little line, actually it's pretty cool. So maybe I'll leave a little bit. It's not bad. Okay, so that's the basic setup here, the very basic one. Now let's, to make things more interesting, first thing you can do is, right now all the clones are kind of, they're all perfectly, everything's perfectly like symmetrical, and everything's, you know, so usually for me, I like to add like some randomization, I guess, to my animations to make it more interesting. And I'm gonna change the color, border color, to like a blue or something, so so I can see that better. So yeah, so to make this more random, obviously first thing you can do is add a random effector, right? And again, we don't want to affect the positions, but we can affect the weight transform, I think. And we want to make sure that the hold up, our random effector is applied before our planar effector. The order matters. So now I think we have little things are happening. There's a little more randomness to our thing, and we don't need too much of it, just a little bit, maybe like 13%. Let's play that through. Yeah. Okay. And another thing you can do is you can, like, I want to rotate, because now everything, because we're referencing the texture, they all starts like at the same point. So if I want to do some random rotation of each of the clones by like 30 degrees. So the way you can do that is I'm going to use a formula. Oh no, not that. A formula effector. Formula. What the hold on. MoGraph effector. Formula effector. Yeah, there you go. And again, you want to apply that formula effector before the plane effector. And you know, by default is doing something, this crazy thing, which is kind of cool, but we don't want that either. We actually just want the rotation. By the way, I'm pressing NF to go to these different modes. So NA is one and B is another, and F, so make things a little easier to see. And so I want to create rotation. Let's see, not the H. Okay, so I want to randomly rotate these by 30 degrees, and in the formula, the reason I'm using a formula effector is you can actually put a formula in here that does this. So basic formula is rand 4 times, and then let's see if I remember this, round yeah, wait, hold up, let me reference my old one, what I did before. Round 5 60. Okay, sorry. So basically, the idea is I want to rotate every individual clone independently by 60 degrees, and 4 times, I guess. Anyways, this is the formula I use. I got this again from this guy's talk, so look into it. But now what that does is we bring back our colors real quick. If I just turn on the random effector right now, what happened? Oh, plane effector. Yeah, there you go. So now I'm just adding a little bit more randomness to the animation, and without the formula effector, everything kind of starts the same way. But now all the clones are like rotated randomly by 60 degrees. So there's a set of offsets. And so with a combination of, whoa, what the fuck? Hold up. Hold up. What's going on? Okay. So you want to put the formula effector at the top and then random, then playing. So anyways, this is just like how I built it. Anyways, this is the fucking setup, okay? um yeah, I think we're good. So we have this one texture. Let's make another material. Let's make that hex 2. Do the same thing. Turn off the color, reflectance, color luminance, and this time we'll. Oh, sorry. You want to add the multi shader. Go in there, add from folder, and this time hex 2. Nope. Okay, and yeah, okay, and we're gonna duplicate this material so that it carries the projection. I'm gonna replace it with hex 2. Oh yeah, I'll turn up the color, by the way. Yeah, look at that. So it should just kind of work as it is. Oh, what? Oh, that's stupid. Oh yeah, it starts a little dot in the beginning because in our texture it starts like this. So let's just move that one frame down, and we can re-render this. Pretty much re-render. Actually, you know what? Easier way to do that is let's go into our luminance multi-shader, and we'll just get rid of this one. Remove. Actually, you know what? That's stupid. Yeah. We just need this render a black frame for the first frame. So let's just do that. We're gonna replace this image with this image. So replace. Let's go back here. Reload image. There we go. Boom. Nice, nice. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. The setup you're using, and again, it's very flexible. If you want it more or less, you can just play with the fall off or your plane effector. You can even add a spline here to like play around, see, give some more or less. Super flexible, however you want it, and crush it. You know what I mean? And obviously you can play with the speed and the timing of this whole thing. So what I do now is I'm just gonna render out these two animations real quick. So right now I have 1920 by 1080, 24 frames per second. Let's do all frames. All frames, please. Anti-aliasing, geometry. Let's make it best. Nah, geometry. Fuck it, doesn't matter. And I am going to back to my folder, put a new folder called renders, and say hex 1. So we're just gonna render out this animated sequence real quick. Should take a couple seconds. It's pretty quick. While this is rendering, I'm just gonna talk some shit. It's first day of 2018, January 1st. I hope you guys had a good New Year. I had a great time last night, hanging out with some friends. My group was hilarious. We're going to this event, and we started a whole like sing along, Disney sing along on the metro. It was a great time. Everyone was very, very drunk and on all sorts of pharmaceuticals. I may or may not have participated. And okay, and I'm gonna render this out as well. So X2. What the fuck? Okay. Right. And let's go. So it's rendering. Let's just render. And pretty much the idea here is, in After Effects, you can create any sorts of animation that you want. And you can get really crazy here, right? And all you gotta do is make it like it's basic 2D flat texture, and then you can take that in Cinema and make it really complicated, like by staggering these things together. And then afterwards, as you'll see, once this is done, we can bring this back into After Effects, add some colors, and composite it together to make some really cool textures. And okay, it's done. Okay, now let's go back. Let's bring those two renders we just did. So hex 1, and let's bring back hex 2. Let's create a new comp, 1920 by 1080. So this is hex 1, right? Hex 1. Yeah, what? Yeah, I should probably render that at the best anti-aliasing, because right now it's look a little pixelated, but it doesn't matter. You get it. You get the point. And this is hex 2. Let's bring that in. All right. So if I change this mode to screen, so now we can stack them together, and you can just apply some basic color correction. I use a tint. If I change that to say a blue, right? How cool is that? If I change this one to say a yellow or orange, or something like that, and now you have something super dope. And you can duplicate this, offset it, change the colors to, I don't know, like a greenish color, something like that, right? You can offset it, whatever, turn on the opacity if you want, just play around with it. Do the same thing with the first one. You can make it even add if you want to. You can offset this as well. Let's see, change this to whatever, let's make it red, right? So very quickly you're able to create like some really complicated like animations just like this. How fast is that, right? And it's so simple and very flexible. You can do a lot of different things with it, and very fun to play with. Easy. You can again offset, just dragging this around, duplicate it. And with this method, when you have it set this up already, right? Obviously we're using a plane effector. That's with a linear fall off. All right. If we could duplicate this effector, I turn the first one off. Add back the new one, and we change the fall off to, instead of linear, we're gonna make it into, I don't know, like a sphere, and we can delete the animation on the track. So now you can just like keyframe the, let's say the scale from 0 to, I don't know, let's say 1,000. Keyframe that, and make sure that, well, you don't have to, but I like to make it linear. And let's paint that black. Wow. Yeah, it's a little fast, but you get the idea. Once again, right? You get the idea. So you can render this out like we did before, and start playing around with it. So that's the idea. And you know, all the things you can do in MoGraph, you can do, you know, you can do here too. So if you don't want these two animation, like the plane vectors, you can use like, I don't know, like a shader effector, right? Let's make sure that's okay. Shader effector is applied, and again, we don't need the scale. We do want the color, and if we add, say, like a noise to it, to the shader effector, we add some speed to the animation. If we just let that play, you know what I mean? It just, you can make some like just animated loops, like 1,000, something like that, and that's that plane effector, right? So that's another idea, obviously. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then, you know, like I said, I'm doing this just on a flat texture because I wanted to make some cool animated backgrounds and whatnot. But you can do this. You can, like, you don't have to do that. You can just, you can do, like, you know, from a different angle, you know what I mean, like a perspective. You can animate your camera moving along this, add some depth of field, you know what I mean, and make these, create these like really just dope, I don't know, ground, like floors and texture grounds and whatever. It's just, it's really like, this is a really cool and flexible way to control animated image sequences in cinema. And then using your compositing and After Effects skills, you can bring it back here and create something really cool. And you know, and that's how I did like these different ones. They're just like two or three of these things together, you know what I mean? All right, and same thing with this box. So that's it, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. It's kind of sloppy, I know, I'm sorry, a little hangover. But yeah, I'll see you next time. Thank you.